where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio.
Every day you're going and working, running that rat race and that pace and that place will leave a bad taste for anyone, everyone working day after day. So buddy, I gotta say, yo, there's gotta be a better way, yeah. And you do what they told ya. Company man, feel it, a mindless little soldier. How can you live like that and maintain your composure before it's begun? Your life's already freaking over. Yeah, I do what I want when I want.
So I suppose a big part of the reason why I'm doing this today, why I'm sitting here on the radio talking to you, I suppose a big part of that is, I don't know if this is something to be proud or ashamed of. And it's funny, Nikki Sixx, who is in the building at Premiere, I told him this story once. Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue. I told him this story once, and he was like, I'm horrified by that. And the story goes like this. Motley Crue are essentially the reason I'm here talking to you on the radio. Why? How? Well, very first concert I ever went to in the 4th grade was Motley Crue. Why my parents decided to allow this, I don't know. Because what it involved was taking the train into London and going to Wembley Stadium. I grew up in England and lived just outside of London for a little part of it, inside London for a lot of it. And, well, at this stage in the game, we were living outside London. So that means getting on public transportation, going into London, going to Wembley Arena, taking the subway, getting there with a whole bunch of other kids. I think I was allowed to go with some older kids on my school bus. My folks had a rather hands-off attitude toward some aspects of parenting. And one of the aspects of parenting they had a hands-off attitude toward was me getting around. Like, I was taking trains, buses, walking places, riding bikes at a very young age. And it's weird because as I look back on it, I go, wow, that really gave me a sense of independence. That made me figure some stuff out pretty early on that I'm glad I figured out early on. But if I ever have a kid, yeah, there's absolutely no way I'm going to be doing it. So I wouldn't trade that experience for anything in the world. I'm just not sure if I would do the same thing for my kids. And I don't necessarily know what that says. Anyways, going to see Motley Crue in the 4th grade at Wembley Stadium, rather. Involved getting on a train, going into London, one of the biggest cities in the world, and with a bunch of other kids, some of whom happen to be old enough to kind of sort of like escort me to the show, go see Motley Crue. And by the way, I got my first ever concert t-shirt at this Motley Crue show. It was an extra, extra large. And at the time, it came down to my knees. Now I still have that, and it's a perfect fit. And people are like, oh, wow. Cool Motley Crue shirt. Where'd you get that? Melrose, $85. And I go, no. Wembley Arena, the 90s, £12.50. And I feel a certain amount of hipster pride over that. I don't know. But I go to see old Motley Crue. And the big reason, I wasn't even that big of a fan of Motley Crue. Not my thing as a child. Beastie Boys, Run DMC, that was my way to go. But Motley Crue had this incredible drummer, a guy called Tommy Lee, and when I was 5 years old, I got a drum kit from my parents because I said I liked Animal on the Muppet Show, and became an avid, voracious drummer and an avid, voracious reader of drummers' magazines. And through these drummers' magazines, I became aware of this guy called Tommy Lee that played drums upside down while fireworks were going off in concert, and I was like, I would like to see that. And Motley Crue, sort of like, think what you will of them musically, but Tommy Lee, very, very, very accomplished musician, like legitimately a great drummer, has chops out the yang. So anyway, I go see Motley Crue, and I'm there. And all of a sudden, I'm in the first mosh pit of my life. I'm a kid, so I get lifted up onto somebody else's shoulders. And there I am. There I am in this Motley Crue mosh pit. The first time I've ever been in something like that, in a stadium. And we had general admission tickets, so we were pretty close to the front, like not far from the stage. And being a kid in a mosh pit can go one of two ways. One, people go, ooh, yeah, no, you better get to the back. Or two, people go, hey, check out this kid in the pit. Let's look after him and get him as close to the stage as possible. So I'm on someone's shoulders. Tommy Lee does his drum solo. And he says, one night I had this crazy effed up dream, man, and I dreamed I could play my drums a little bit to the right, and the drum riser rotates to the right. He's like, and then I dreamed I could go a little bit to the left, and the drum riser rotates to the left as he's playing this very technically accomplished solo. And anyways, he then goes, And then I had this even more effed up dream, man, where I thought I could play drums upside down, man. And then his drum riser goes upside down, shoots up into the air, is doing full 360s and 180s, left, right, up, down, back, forward. He's playing the whole time. There's fireworks going off. I'm on someone's shoulders in the first mosh pit of my life. I look behind me. Girls are taking their tops off. I didn't even know necessarily why this was so appealing to me at the time, but I was just like, oh my God. My young mind about exploded. And I went, huh. I don't know what I want to do with my life, but this is what I want to do with my life. Something to do with this. This is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. Something to do with this. And from that moment forward, I was pretty much trying to figure out how to make a life out of music. And eventually, I got into this band when I was in high school, and we were lucky enough to get signed, and we were lucky enough to tour the world and make some records, and we went from England to America after the folks over at A&M Records decided to cut us a check that was entirely too big, and toured the world, traveled it, winning friends and fans at every single show, by van, by tour bus, by plane, wherever we went. We had a great old time. And then when that was done, I was like, I need a job. I'm like 23 years old, and my resume says guy in a band, and I don't even have a band, and all my friends were graduating from college and getting real jobs, and I didn't know what the hell I was going to do. And I was lucky enough to snag a job at two of the stations that played my old band. One crappy overnight shift a week. And kind of weaseled my way up from there. And for that reason, I got my start in radio, and I'm here. So, thank you to Motley Crue. And Motley Crue, I'm sure, would like to say, I'm sorry to you. Thank you so much for hanging out, being part of the show.
Journey at the young age of 15. As the driving force of the Spencer Davis Group, the group enjoyed a string of chart success by way of such enduring classics as Keep On Running, Gimme Some Lovin', and I'm a Man. The international success of these singles bolstered Winwood's confidence and strengthened his resolve to seek out new rhythmic possibilities. In 1967, Winwood left the Spencer Davis Group and co-founded Traffic. Beloved for their eclectic style and superbly crafted songs, Traffic routinely defied convention to celebrate a host of sounds and influences. Eager to try his hand with other creative partnerships, Winwood left Traffic in 1969 to join a new group formed by Cream guitarist Eric Clapton and drummer Ginger Baker, rock's first supergroup, Blind Faith.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more Steve Winwood and all your favorite artists.
Ranger Station.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting in the forest. 1 second, I'm having a smoke. Next thing I know, I'm face to face with Smokey Bear. Wow. And he told me it only takes one spark to start a wildfire.
Did you know 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans?
I had no idea.
That's why Smokey's famous and you're not. Get your Smokey on. If you see someone in danger of starting a wildfire, step in and make a difference. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Like most kids from a privileged white upper-middle-class suburban background, for a significant portion of his childhood, he was pretty convinced he was down. AD on the radio.
Yeah, oh, let's go. Talking that mess, better act like you know. Oh, let's go tonight. Walk away, punk, yeah, bitch. That's right, I know this. You're nothing but a punk, bitch. You're nothing but a punk, bitch. So walk away, yeah, yeah.
Oh, Funkhauser. What is the title of today's show?
The Beiber, bitchass. Right?
If we're on the subject of bitch asses, there's a Zimmerman thing and the Beiber thing, and I'm not sure which demands more of our attention. So today we'll make a note to talk about.
You want to flip a coin?
Let's figure out what kind of mood we're in.
Wonder if I have a coin. I don't have a coin.
Progresses. Let me just say this. When Justin Bieber burst onto the scene several years ago, I was like, oh, God. Oh, this is terrible. And people were like, come on, AD. He's just like a talented kid that got discovered on YouTube. Why do you got to be so mean to him? He's genuinely talented. He can play drums. He can play sing. I was like, no, you don't understand. He's an awful little spud of a human being. He is little lesbian haircutted pop spud sent to earth by Satan via Canada to ruin everything for all of us. And he must be stopped. And people are like, oh, come on, man. He's a good kid. Single mom. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. He is a piece of human garbage. Trust me on this one. I can see it in his insipid little Canadian eyes. No offense to Funkhauser's Canadian girlfriend, but I could see it in his insipid little Canadian eyes. I was like, this guy's a real piece of work, and he must be stopped. Years later, I was doing the I was right and you were wrong dance whenever the subject of Justin Bieber comes up. He is awful, just awful, and perhaps if we have time today, we'll bust into exactly why and how he is so tremendously awful. We'll either do the Bieber bitch-ass story or we'll do the Zimmerman bitch-ass story. We'll wait and see as the show progresses. Right now, though,
bitch-asses in the news.
There's a lot of bitch-asses in the news, and we'll get to as many of them as possible. Right now, though, our segment, My Witness News, in no way, shape, or form fair. Certainly not balanced. Funkhauser, A, how are you? And B, what is, in fact, going on in the world?
I have to figure out how to rent a washer-dryer.
Oh?
The life of a renter is the life I live. And,
do you not go to laundromats?
Nah. That's it. Other people's hair is in the dryer when you put your clothes in it. Ugh. No thanks.
So you're.
But I was using my
neighbor's washer dryer.
Yeah, I was using my neighbor's washer dryer for a while, and they just moved out. So now it's time for me to get one.
So wait, your landlord is not responsible for that?
No. See, in California, I don't know how it is in other states, but in California, it's hit or miss, depending on like if you have a refrigerator or a washer dryer or a parking space. Not everything comes standard.
I think, to be honest, it's sort of like wherever you go, it's part of the individual agreement that you have with your renter. And you know what? I'm a landlord. Can you believe that?
Do you have a washer dryer in your unit?
I do have a washer dryer in my unit, yeah.
You have an extra washer dryer?
I do not have an extra washer dryer in my unit, but if you want to rent out my place, it overlooks Herman Park in Houston, Texas, and it's rather lovely. Not really.
My commute would be
the best
too
move
massive,
for your. Yeah, the commute would be a bit of a bitch for you. So perhaps not. But yeah, no. Like I actually, you know what? I'm a pretty decent landlord. My place is turnkey. I didn't want to move with stuff. I didn't want to have to deal with stuff and furniture and all that sort of thing. And so what I did was I rented out my place. My place is essentially like a hotel.
All-in-one, standalone rental property.
Yeah. You pay me rent. I cover all your bills, and you just live there. And
I like that.
It works out well. And it's furnished, and there's cutlery and whatnot. And it's in like an area of Houston that's a medical area, so people come there for treatment off and on. And generally speaking, if you're planning to make a life somewhere, you don't want to deal with somebody else's furniture, and you don't want to deal with somebody else's glassware and cutlery and stuff like that. But for this part of town where people are coming in and out for medical treatment, it's a pretty sound thing. So yeah, there's that. So I believe based on my extraordinarily limited experience as a landlord that it's down to the individual relationship between the tenant and the landlord who does what with regard to things that wash clothes.
Yeah. So I'm doing that today.
Lots of luck with that.
Thank you.
What about drop-off services?
Somebody else in your underwear folding it.
That's the best part. No folding. Like, I don't mind doing laundry. It's the folding it and putting it away that drives me effing crazy.
I've done that once or twice, and I always had a weird feeling. Like they wrap your clothes in newspaper, and they tie it up in a little bow. They're like, "Here's your underwear, neatly folded, 3 inches by 3 inches," and I just, People are paying too much attention to my undergarments. I'd rather just do it myself.
Well, I mean, if you're free of shame with regard to your undergarments, that's not a problem. So.
Yeah, well, as you walk away from the fluff and fold, you're like, did I? Am I going to have to say this is my...
in your tracks and turn around and go and check things out?
Am I going to have to say this is my cousin's laundry?
See, I loved it because I don't know. I worked out that I spent about as much in quarters as I did just handing the elderly woman all my dirty stuff and being like, wash this, I'll be back soon. When you go to do, if you're like me and you put off laundry for as long as humanly possible, then the amount of quarters it takes to do all your laundry is a significant one. And then you're there, then you're watching it, then you're worried someone's going to steal it if you leave for even 2 seconds. It's a whole big thing. It's this big ordeal. And I worked out that to get my laundry washed and folded and dried by somebody else was only sort of $5-6 more than it was to sit there going through the entire arduous task myself. And that was when I became a guy that stopped doing his own laundry. Now I have a washing machine, so yeah, it's back to the bad old days. But for a while, I was kind of hoity and or toity, where I was like, I'm going to soil all my garments. Now I'm going to give them to you, give you a small amount of money, and when I come back, I expect them to be clean. I'm like a young king. That's what I am. So it was pretty cool. Give it another go. It's strangely satisfying.
Stay away from the Indian food, huh? See you next time.
Yeah. And they never once made personal remarks about my stuff. So that's good. What is going on in the world?
Fordham University is rescinding Bill Cosby's honorary degree.
Yeah, no, Bill Cosby has been losing honorary degrees left, right, and center. I think he was given a whole bunch of them. He was known as Dr. Cosby.
He's given a bunch of fake degrees, and now he's losing his fake degrees? This is fake
he's losing.
Awful.
Yeah, this is fake awful. I want an honorary degree. How do you get one of those? What sort of contribution
Apparently
do you
don't
have
to
make?
do much.
Well, I mean, anyways, I wonder if he's losing his degrees now. I wonder, because he did go to college. He was very accomplished in a scholastic sort of way, and he played college sports and all this sort of stuff. But as far as being called Dr. Bill Cosby, I wonder if that's an honorary title, and I wonder if he's losing the title doctor from his name after everything that's transpired. But yep, among others, Fordham University is rescinding Bill Cosby's honorary degree, which to Cosby I don't think is any big loss, only because he doesn't really like things that are given to him willingly anyway. He appreciates the thrill of the chase. Go on.
Former teen mom star Farrah Abraham released a new sex doll.
Don't you mean former teen mom star Farrah Abraham, who now follows AD on Twitter, released a new sex doll?
A fellow verified member of Twitter, Farrah Abraham.
Yeah. I got followed by Farrah Abraham. I was like, well, that's peculiar. And I tweeted her back. I was like, thanks for the follow, I guess. Let's see where this goes. I'm kind of interested to see.
Maybe
how
it was
this
the sex
out.
doll that followed you.
Maybe it was a sex doll. I'm not sure. The doll's made entirely of rubber, so it's exactly like the real thing, except for slightly fewer daddy issues. Go on.
I miss my plastic father. Kanye West has confirmed his plan to run for president in 2020. Kanye 2020.
In case you were worried that it was just a beautiful, beautiful dream. No, this looks like it might be a thing, and it might be happening. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually did manage it. Kanye West is out of his effing mind.
There's a big, tarp billboard-looking thing right in the most busy part of downtown LA. It says, Kanye 2020, ? Just somebody print out a gigantic football-sized banner and put it up.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't put it past him to be a brilliant, brilliant marketing idea for an album that's going to come out in 2020, or he might actually take a stab at being president.
Maybe just getting his eyes checked.
Bill Burr.
Yo, I'm losing my glasses.
Oh, very well. Hold on. Can you Karate Kid yourself for that one?
Thank you. I can't see. Thank you.
Exceedingly well played, Funkhauser. Bill Burr, when I saw him last, did a fantastic bit on Kanye West. And Bill Burr's wife is black, and he said that his wife said to him, racism can't... Very few instances where racism can be a good thing. Because And he specifically said his wife applied it to Kanye West. I was like, okay, let's see how this one lands. And Bill Burr was just like, look, racism is obviously a horrible, awful thing, and equality is what we want to strive for at all times. But in the case of Kanye West, if that guy was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed dude, and that level of crazy and that level of thinking, that level of God complex, he was like, we would all be in his concentration camp now if he wasn't black. I was like, oh, wow, that's really close to the bone. But then I was like, Bill Burr has a black wife, can kind of sort of get away with that. Black joke telling immunity. Interesting. And he brought up a valid point. Or in his, you know what he said, that his wife made that point to him. And I wonder if that was him qualifying it, being like, my black wife said this about Kanye West. I don't know. I do know this, though. Funkhauser has more news.
I do have more news. My Psy.
Yes.
Which is my affectionate title for Miley Cyrus. She's moving to a 7-bedroom home, which is on the same street as Kim Kardashian in Hidden Hills, California, next to Calabasas.
Yeah. You should be aware that just by virtue of hearing the words Miley Cyrus and Kim Kardashian in the same sentence, as bizarre as it sounds, there's a very good chance that your ears now have a venereal disease. But yeah, they made the celebrity skank news together, and well, that's just herpes cubed, isn't it? Miley Cyrus is moving to a 7-bedroom home, which is on the same street as Kim Kardashian in Hidden Hills, California, which is why, by the way, the city is renaming the street Chlamydia Lane. Go on.
In no relation, that city, Hidden Hills, is where all the trash gets dumped in the county.
Really?
20, 30 miles away. All trash cans go there, dump it.
Really? Interesting piece of poetic justice right there. Yes.
Brad and Angelina want to adopt a Syrian orphan this time.
Interesting. They want to adopt a Syrian orphan. I wonder at what stage in the game, when you look at Brad and Angelina's family. Note the sarcastic air quotes around the word family, because there's how many? Any idea how many there are at this stage in the game, Funkhauser?
I don't know.
My question is, at what point have they gone from creating a family to building an army that we should all be very, very scared of? I don't know. But that's a lot of kids.
Collect them all.
Oh my God. Yeah, what's next? We better move swiftly along from that.
Pierce Brosnan says the next James Bond will be white and male.
Yeah. Which is as bold as predicting that Michael Bay's next movie is going to be both loud and pointless. For a second, it looked like they were going to have a black James Bond. You know that guy, Idris Elba? You know that guy?
No.
He's great. He's a really, really good actor. On Netflix, if you ever get if you're looking for something new to binge watch, Luther on Netflix is genius. It's an English cop show. And Idris Elba stars in it. And it's amazing because it's a cop show, and it is one of the most intense things that you're ever going to see in your life. But they're English cops, and in England, as Robin Williams put it, police don't have a gun and you don't have a gun. So it's stop, or I'll say stop again. So it's really like a psychological cop drama, and it's really great watching. And this dude, Idris Elba, plays this cop, Luther. And Luther is just like an incredible, powerful, polarizing character, and everybody thought, oh, he'd be perfect to play James Bond after this. And then the establishment went, oh yeah, we're gonna get a white guy.
This is USA Headline News. I'm Melody Burkett. Planned Parenthood is in the spotlight on Capitol Hill. Utah Representative Jason Chaffetz says it's not just about a series of undercover videos.
The question before us is, does this organization, does Planned Parenthood really need federal subsidy? Does it need federal dollars?
The organization is under fire over the harvesting of fetal tissue for research. Planned Parenthood Chief Cecile Richards is testifying in a House hearing defending her organization. Richards says harvesting the tissue is legal and calls Planned Parenthood a leading provider of reproductive health care for women in the U.S. Home prices are on the rise across the country. The latest S&P Case-Shiller Home Price Index shows prices in 20 major cities rose 5% in July from the same month a year ago. San Francisco and Denver posted double-digit gains, while property values climbed less than 2% in Washington, D.C. For the USA Headline News, I'm Melody Burkett.
Want an exciting future that blends technology, creativity, and healthcare where you'll help people every day? Orthotics and Prosthetics, O&P, is the evaluation, fabrication, and custom fitting of artificial limbs and orthopedic braces. O&P professionals bring quality of life to those with disabling conditions of the limbs or spine or limb loss. And jobs in O&P are available as soon as you complete your training. Dale Peterson, Technician Program Laboratory Manager.
The folks who graduate from our technician program are going to be fully qualified for a career in orthotics and prosthetics technical work.
O&P is the perfect career for veterans under the GI Bill and anyone looking for an exciting career that changes people's lives.
I'm Michelle Hall, and I'm a certified prosthetist orthotist. On a daily basis, I make a difference in people's lives, and you can too.
Check out opcareers.org to learn more. It's your future, your way. That's opcareers.org for more information. 100% funded by a grant from the U.S. Department of Labor's Employment and Training Administration. For more information, visit Hope Careers.
Trending.
And this update is brought to you by TrueCar. Find the new car you want, see what others paid, and lock in guaranteed savings from TrueCar certified dealers. Save time, save money, and never overpay. Download the TrueCar app today. In the NFL, Week 3 came to a close on Monday night in Green Bay, where the Packers handled the Chiefs 38-28. Green Bay quarterback Aaron Rodgers threw for 333 yards and 5 touchdowns. 3 of them went to wide receiver Randall Cobb. Green Bay's now 3-0 on the year. Kansas City drops to 1-2 with the loss. In baseball games impacting the playoff races, the Giants beat the Dodgers 3-2 in 12 innings. LA's magic number to win the NL West remains at 2. San Francisco keeps its faint playoff hopes alive with that win. The Rangers lose to the Tigers 7-4, while the Astros beat the Mariners 3-2. Houston moves a game and a half back of Texas for first place in the AL West. The Cardinals shut out the Pirates 3-0. St. Louis's magic number to win the NL Central's at 2. And the Blue Jays beat the Orioles 4-3. Yankees lose to the Red Sox 5-1. Toronto's magic number to win the AL East is at 2.
iHeartRadio shines the spotlight on Rush.
The group returned to the studio and released a new album, Vapor Trails, in 2002. Rush did not use a single synthesizer, organ, or other keyboard on the album. To celebrate their 30th anniversary, the group released Feedback. The recording featured Rush's covers of 8 songs by some of the artists that influenced the group, including Cream, the Yardbirds, and The Who. The group continued recording and touring, releasing the albums Snakes and Arrows in 2007 and Clockwork Angels in 2012. Rush is a band completely removed from the mainstream music scene, yet remain one of the most popular rock bands in the world. It is a dichotomy that has fueled the group from the very beginning.
I won't get what I'm after till the day I die.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more Rush and all your favorite artists. iHeartRadio shines the spotlight on the Rolling Stones.
Their album Sticky Fingers in 1971 began a string of 8 consecutive studio albums, reaching number 1 in the United States. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inducted the Rolling Stones in 1989, and Rolling Stone magazine ranked them 4th on the 100 Greatest Artists of All Time list, with album sales estimated at more than 200 million worldwide. It's been over 50 years, and the Rolling Stones are still a force to be reckoned with.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more Rolling Stones and all your favorite artists.
Real Radio 104.1.
Now, more AD on the radio.
Back once again, the ill behavior, delivering and giving you a musical savior. Back once again, it's your boy AD again. Nobody rock a party better than me. Back once again, the ill behavior, delivering and giving you a musical savior. Back once again, it's your boy AD again. Nobody rock a party better than me.
Alrighty then, Funkhauser, let's roll through what remains of the news before we discuss why Zimmerman and or Bieber are bitch asses. What else is going on in the world?
And. Pierce, talk about the Pierce Brosnan James Bond thing. Jill and Jessa Duggar are returning to TLC for a network special.
Yeah.
Who are these people?
Jessa Duggar. I don't know which one Jill is, but I think Jessa Duggar. Well, they're both Duggar kids. You know, the 20 million. I use my womb like other people use Pez dispensers and counting. That show, like the one with all the kids on TLC, where it turned out that their holier than thou thing was a little sort of. It was a bit of a stretch because they raised this kid that molested his sisters and then got caught with an Ashley Madison account, all while campaigning to keep gay people from getting married and being like, it says in the Bible. Really? Does it says in the Bible that you should be molesting your kid's sister? I'm trying. That doesn't seem to be in Romans 1. Where does it? Must have missed that one. But
kids, are these the kid sisters?
These are the. Well, I don't know if these are the kid sisters that got. Yeah. You know what? I want to say that one of these is the kid sister that got molested by the older brother. I don't know. And the show's been off the air because, well, duh. Yeah, but the show's been off the air. You know, it's interesting. There is a thing, I think, there's a law with abuse and reality shows because one of the, besides Motley Crue dragging me into a life of entertainment and music, whether I wanted to be or not, one of the reasons that I'm sitting here talking to you instead of on TV was because I had this big production deal. I had this TV show that I was doing for a little while. It was on like 3 or 4 cities in Texas and the Gulf Coast, and it was just stupid green screen nonsense. You know, designed.
Oh, did you do the weather? Are you weather guy?
No. It was like it was kind of like, what was it? It was sort of like The Soup, some sort of green screen show where we basically. It was on Fox. Like, it got picked up by a bunch of Fox affiliates, and it was a cheap, transparent ploy to monetize other people's hard work via internet clips. And Fox were totally on board with that, as it turned out. But yeah, no, it was just sort of like, it was kind of like old school MTV meets The Super Tosh.
I see you tweet things like that every so often. Little clips from it.
Yeah, little clips from it. And it was fun. It actually did really well in the ratings. Well enough in the ratings that this big-ass Hollywood production company got in touch with me. They're like, I had a very Wayne's World moment. They're like, we think this is fantastic, and we'd like to take it to a network. And I was like, excuse me, a baking powder? It sounded like you wanted to make Wayne's World into a real show. That was literally like my moment. It was just me kind of goofing off and having fun. But like I said, it got really good ratings, so it attracted the attention of some Hollywood bigwigs. And a big sort of part of the reason that it's interesting to talk to those folks is because, well, they have all this ability to put you on a big network and get you sort of like syndicated across the country. And it was a very attractive prospect. So I actually signed a deal with these people. I signed a deal with these people for like a year and a half to develop and shoot a pilot and all this sort of stuff. And right as we were about to start shooting the pilot and getting ready to shop it to different networks, this other show that they were working on, and I probably can't say which one, but this other show that this big production company was... this other show that they were working on was just going into production, and they had to put the brakes on my thing because they found out at the last moment that it being a reality show, it basically dealt with toothless hillbillies, and they found out that, like, 5 of the 7 cast members had been in jail at one point for
was it
beating the
TMZ?
crap. No, it wasn't TMZ.
Aww.
But they'd been in jail for, like, beating the crap out of their wives. And they're like, legally they can't be on TV. So right as we're about to go into production, we have to scramble and we have to get a whole new cast for this show, which has already got so much money and backing in it. And if it goes south, that's a very, very big problem. So, AD, sorry, but our project is on a back burner. And I was like, I made a conscientious decision then. Because, like, the TV thing was really going well, and I was excited to do more of it. And I was like, okay, here's the thing. If I want to make TV, the amount of work that goes into creating a half-hour television is kind of crazy. And if I want to get my TV stuff to go places, the amount of work it takes to even get a pilot made by this big production company that's really good and big and good at getting pilots made, wow, that's kind of bananas. And I made a conscientious decision at that time that, you know what? if you do well on TV, you can have a 9, maybe 10-year run at it. I was like, talk radio, I can ride that one off into the sunset. I can be 65 years old and still doing this. When you're in talk radio, you just go, open your mouth, start making a show, and it's awesome. I love that aspect of it. I love this sort of creative free-form thing. It's almost like jazz, where you're improvising on your feet, and you just can't do that in television so much. And well, I just, because of the experience I had with television, I was like, I'm out. It's radio from here on in. I don't want to have to comb my hair or wash myself before I go to work. So here we are. But yeah, so the TLC network took 20 bazillion kids and counting off the air, and Jill and Jessa Duggar are returning to TLC for a network special. What the point of it is, we don't know. I would imagine it's tentatively being titled 19 Excuses and Counting. I wonder if they're going to talk about their big brother Josh Duggar, you know, the one we were talking about before, the guy who campaigned for traditional marriage, campaigned to prevent gay people from being given the right to marry, the guy who molested his sisters, had an Ashley Madison account, and a taste for prostitutes. Yep, the guy who was all about marriage as defined by God. And in his book, I think marriage as defined by God is apparently between one woman and one man and a string of prostitutes and some random internet hookups and your sisters who you molested. What I guess I'm trying to say is, F this guy and his family, and especially their sanctimonious, holier-than-thou, judgmental, hate-mongering, bigoted, hypocritical, child abuse-forgiving ways.
Can we F TLC altogether? Or not,
you know,
not yet?
Yeah, there's still that one shameful part of me. That one shameful part of me that enjoys.
Do they do like My 600-Pound Life and stuff like that?
Yeah, I don't know. They cut me out of my house. That sort of thing. Anyways. Why have I not picked a primary care physician? We'll get into that in a second.
iHeartRadio shines the spotlight on Rush.
Rush was formed in August 1968 in the Willowdale neighborhood of Toronto. The original lineup included Alex Lifeson on guitar, Jeff Jones on bass, and John Rutsey on drums. Jones was soon replaced by Geddy Lee, and in 1974, after the release of the group's debut album, Rutsey left and was replaced by Neil Peart. That lineup, Lee on vocals, bass, and keyboards, Lifeson on guitar, and Peart on drums, has remained stable throughout the years. The group played around on the Toronto scene for a few years and then, in 1973, released its first single, a cover of Buddy Holly's Not Fade Away.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more Rush and all your favorite artists.
iHeartRadio goes one-on-one with Bob Seger to discuss his favorite process for developing new songs.
The way I do it, I sing into an ADAT machine, which has about 40 minutes. I might fill up 2 or 3 of them. Then I just go away, come back the next day, and listen to what I did. If there's nothing there, I start again. But I might hear one chord change. I might hear one thing I mumbled lyrically and say, oh, I never even caught that when I did it. You know, it's like you're just totally a free-form thing, almost a jazz thing. And sooner or later, you know, a structure, a chord structure, or a phrase, or the way I sang something jumps out at me and it becomes the germ for a song, you know? And that's really fun.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more Bob Seger and all your favorite artists.
Now, someone who everybody wants to punch in the face. AD on the radio.
So for the vast part for the vast majority of my quote-unquote radio career, I was kind of like, I was a lone gunslinger, out to hire for whoever would pay me the most. Basically, I had like 8 different jobs. I was working for Sirius XM. I was working for a few stations owned by the the empire known as iHeartMedia, and I was kind of all over the place. And I loved it because it gave me a really sort of like cool degree of autonomy. And I think my employers loved it too because they were like, oh, well, we don't have to give this guy sort of like benefits and stuff. And that was cool. And for them, it was really nifty. And for me, it was great because, like I said, it gave me absolute autonomy. And I just sort of bought my own health insurance and stuff like that because, well, it was great. I could travel places. I could go anywhere. I could do anything. I could do whatever I wanted to out of my home. For a while, I worked completely from home. I was barely doing any work for iHeartMedia. iHeartMedia liked you to go into a studio. I was doing all my work for Sirius XM. And when I first moved to Houston from New York City, there were Sirius XM studios out there. And eventually, it was like me and a bunch of Tejano guys, that a regional Mexican station that had been programmed out of Houston by sort of like some Tejano programmers, and that wound up getting canceled. So there was this pretty big facility, and it was just me and all these Tejano dudes, and the Tejano station got canceled. So all of a sudden, I'm going into this office block with a lot of gear and equipment in it by myself every single day, and I'm looking around going, this can't last. There's no way they're going to keep this facility open just for me. And I was like, well, what do I do? I'll just keep, I'll just ride this one off into the sunset, I suppose. And eventually the hammer fell, and the bean counters looked at the situation, and they're like, yeah, we're going to close that facility in Houston. I was like, damn, now I got to move back to New York City or go to LA, or I got to find a new job. And they're like, well, hold up a second. You do so much work for us. And at that stage in the game, I was on like 4 of their stations. Why don't we just build you a studio at the house? And I was like, ooh, that sounds nice. And in reality, it's not nearly as impressive as it sounds. It would have been very impressive maybe 10 years ago. But in this particular case, all you really need to have a radio studio in your home is a great quality microphone, a vocal processor, and a screaming fast internet connection, and you're good to go. It was pretty cool. But I did all this work out of my house. I never, ever left. Hardly ever left. I got into this weird hermity lifestyle where I'd go be on the radio, jump in the pool, and hang out with my dog, and that would be it. Like, that was all I would do. And I literally stayed in my home for weeks at a time. Occasionally, I would like go grocery shopping or something like that, and that would be my little brush with society. But it got to the point where people like, you want to come out? And I was like, is this something that I got to put pants on for? And if so, then not interested. But I lived this kind of like interesting life until I got sucked into, I guess it's upward mobility, but why do I feel I was sucked down into the vortex of middle management in corporate America? And when that happened, I lost a good deal of the autonomy and the ability to work from home. I'm now expected to show up at an office every single day and be present and available for a whole bunch of things. But that means it comes with health insurance, which I'd always just kind of gotten my own catastrophic stuff. Like, if I break my leg or get cancer, this will look after me. If I have a cold, I'll look after it myself. But now I have like actual health insurance. And you know what? Having been sucked into the vortex that is middle management of corporate America, one thing I have not yet had a chance to do is go select a primary care physician. Why? Well, ironically enough, now I finally have health insurance. I'm entirely too busy to make use of it. I have what I'm pretty sure is my first ever cavity. And I don't have time to find a dentist, let alone go to that dentist if I find one. But what's interesting is I got an email. I don't know if you got one of these, Funkhauser. We work for the same company. I got an email saying like, hey, you're going to have to pay more if you don't go get a checkup and find your primary care physician. And there's a reason why I don't like going to the doctor. And this is pretty much it. It's insulting to your usage of time.
You ever go to a brand new doctor and the moment he walks in, you're like, no. I was sitting there, I'm nervous enough. Doctor walks in, all the buttons on his lab coat were off by 1. If he can't nail that task, I don't think I want his doctor paws on me. And I know this is going to sound like I'm making this up. This is the absolute truth. He was late. I don't get that. I don't get why it's okay for the doctor to be late. If I have a 2 o'clock appointment, I want the doctor looking at me at 2 o'clock. And the only way I think it would be okay for the doctor to be late is if at 5 of 2, you're in the waiting room and you notice from under the door that leads to the back rooms, a pool of blood. I think we might be delayed. Then it would be okay for him to be 5 minutes late. Clamp whatever's doing that and get me back there. I want to hear a clamp noise and him saying, my 2 o'clock is here.
Damn, Skippy, be respectful of our time. 2 o'clock means 2 o'clock. George Zimmerman reportedly retweeted a photo of Trayvon Martin's corpse the other day. Which, yeah, somehow is not as shocking as it should be coming from him. For some reason, it just kind of seems like par for the course. It had the caption, quote, Z-Man is a one-man army. Yeah. Tweeted out a picture of Trayvon Martin's corpse with a quote, Z-Man is a one-man army. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that by Z-Man, he's referring to himself, George Zimmerman. Twitter has, of course, since deleted it, and it's as if that wasn't freaking depraved enough. He then proceeded to go on a Twitter rant the other day, freaking the F out about people freaking out on him while proudly displaying his avatar, which is a Confederate flag. Here are some of the things that he said. As much as I love owning all you trolls, I have to work. On my tan. Tell Karma she's worthless. God protects me. Oof. He also said, gee, I sure hate offending people that have plotted and tried to kill me and my family. And that tweet included a photo matching President Obama's comment about Trayvon's death to Virginia murderer Vester Flanagan. I wonder when Twitter will take all these images down, he also said, which was paired with images of wanted signs calling for his death. You know, he kind of brings up a valid point. 2 wrongs don't make a right. I think tweeting out the picture of a dead body, a corpse, whose life you're responsible for ending, I think that that trumps people posting signs calling for his death on Twitter. But, you know, I mean, what's good for the goose is what's good for the gander, potato. Perhaps Twitter should have taken down the photos of people calling for his death. I don't know. I do know this, though. You're not going to disarm America. Guns are a humongous part of our culture. Guns made America what it is. Guns created the America that we live in today. People like to cite things like Australia, where there was one mass shooting and people went, no more guns, and everybody went, oh, okay, okay, no more guns, fine. And they love to cite things like England, where, hey, there's no gun violence because they don't have guns. The statistics are impossible to get around. But let's be real here. Let's pull this one over to the side of the reality turnpike. You're never going to disarm America. Nor do I think, should you? I don't have a gun. I don't plan on owning a gun anytime real soon because of where I live. But if I sort of get back into a situation like the one I used to live in, where I was, you know, master bedroom, ground floor, doors that opened out to the yard, makes it easily accessible, I think I will be getting a gun at that stage in the game. But when you look at folks like George Zimmerman, who are clearly not even-tempered people, I don't necessarily subscribe to any form of belief that allows this guy to walk around toting guns. And I'm not entirely sure what the answer is here. But I do know this. When you look at someone like George Zimmerman and the half-assed, borderline, psychotic way he rants his way through life, you look at that guy and you go, I don't know about how I don't feel okay with this guy packing heat. Now, there's folks that would argue there's a lot of people that are calling for his blood and he should be more allowed to carry guns than anybody else on the face of the planet. It's a sticky situation. I'm not claiming to have any of the answers in any way, shape, or form whatsoever, but I do know this, though. George Zimmerman, to me, is a clear-cut example of the reason why we need to make it more difficult, not less difficult, to arm certain folks. Anyways. Hey, Funkhauser, who said you don't need to go to church to be a Christian? If you go to Taco Bell, that doesn't make you a taco.
I don't know. Palin.
I will give you a multiple guess situation.
Carly Fee okay.
Was it A, Kanye West, B, Tim Tebow, C, Justin Bieber, D, Pope Francis, and that's a clear red herring, E, Gary Busey, although it would be pretty funny if the Pope talked about Taco Bell, E, Gary Busey, or F, Lady Gaga?
I think I know the answer, but, you know.
You gotta have a stab at
the
it.
lesbian that we all know and love, the Biebs?
The lesbian haircutted pop spud sent to Earth by Satan by Canada to ruin everything for all of us, Justin Bieber. If your answer was C, you are correct. In a new interview with Complex Magazine, he said that. Let me just repeat that. You don't need to go to church to be a Christian. If you go to Taco Bell, that doesn't make you a taco. It just makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Has he been huffing paint and drinking cough syrup again? I think he might have. Here's another gem from the interview.
Wait, how do you
quote,
become a taco, by the way? I'm just wondering.
I'm not sure. Although, you know, if somebody wanted to grind him up into, like if somebody wanted to grind him up into hamburger meat, I'd be okay with that. That sounds all right. People are so against Justin Bieber being all gangster with his sort of like posing and acting tough and like, yo, bitch, I'm going to F you up. And like his sort of like Tupac headband. And he obviously has a very young audience. And a lot of people think that it's not okay for him to adopt these gangster postures in his music and in the way he presents himself. But stay with me on this one. As much as it might not be good for the kids, his audience that are listening to him, I like Justin Bieber's gangster pretension, only because anything that ups the chance of him getting gunned down in a drive-by, in my mind, is a good thing. Here's another gem. He said, honestly, I think peeing in the bucket wasn't as big as people made it seem, just because, dude, think about it. Imagine that you hear effing Ozzy Osbourne pees backstage. Immediately, oh, he's a freaking rock star. As soon as I do it, he's being a brat. Dude, what is bratty about peeing in a bucket? We all have to pee. The bathroom was like on the other side. Yeah. The other side of the restaurant. A mop bucket that's used to wash floor in an establishment that people eat food in. So, yeah. Said it before, say it again. Everybody that thought Justin Bieber was just this little kid that was fortunate enough to be able to support his single mom by virtue of the fact that his career took off on YouTube and I should leave him alone. I was right, you were wrong. Evil little satanic spud sent to Earth by Satan via Canada to ruin everything for all of us. He must be stopped. Thanks for hanging out.
Other times you feel like it's cool to turn the other cheek and give people the benefit of the doubt even when they don't deserve it. And sometimes you feel good about yourself for being a better person and doing that, well, this is not one of those times.